we do offer childcare for that event for the Saturday leadership morning and for the bingo night. So hopefully you're going to be attending either of those. But if you have kids and you want a morning off, you're not going to leadership retreat, bring them by next Saturday or Friday night. We hope you'll come to bingo, but you could also, if you can't get your tickets, you can still drop your kids off. And we appreciate that. The following day, on July 29th, we are partnering once again with the Orange County Equality Coalition to host Read with Royalty. And this is a wonderful story time event. Kids of all ages are invited to join once more with Queen Electra. I think we're still in need of volunteers for that day, so you can check in with Myrna, Bohan, or Felicity, and you can help us make that event a success. So finally, I want to take a moment and invite you to join us between services as we once again honor the incredible work that has taken place at the Atwood Building, our preschool. Just over 40 years ago, when IUCC was still a brand new congregation, we secured the land for our church, but we didn't have any money, so we couldn't do much with it. Somebody learned of a bank that was getting rid of a portable building and asked if we wanted it. Our then pastor, the Reverend Fred Plummer, said, "Sure." And so they scraped up the money to transfer it over. My favorite part about this story is that they didn't check with the city of Irvine, they just plopped it down. So they came over and said, "Do you have a permit for this thing?" So they put a fence around it and got the work done properly. And it took on a second life to become the IUCC Early Childhood Center, our preschool. And 40 years later, last fall, we began a refresh. Many of you participated. We scraped and we painted and we put in recessed lighting. The preschool was looking amazing, but the 20-year-old floors and the 40-year-old cabinets stuck out like sore thumbs. And some of the newer cabinets, and by new, I mean like the 20-year-old cabinets that were made out of MDF and were just hanging off the walls, a liability waiting to happen with these wobbly screws. And that's when we began phase 2. This second phase could have cost us another $50,000 to $150,000. But thanks to 2 volunteers in particular who donated all of their labor, we spent about $32,000 on new floors, pretty much throughout the whole building, new cabinets in all the rooms, even replacing some that were MDF we bought 5 years ago, already falling apart, plumbing to ensure that the sinks are the right height for preschool children, new lighting in the kitchen, heat reduction in the kitchen, which felt like you were somewhere down below, and other really important improvements. And thanks to you, our congregation, our incredible donors, we have raised $12,000, making our out-of-pocket expenses somewhere more like $20,000. And most importantly, this has ensured that we are good stewards of this property, of this church that we have been charged to take care of, to ensure that our preschool children and their families have a safe and clean, functional environment. And that also helps us to be a competitive school in the city of Irvine. So I want to take this moment and thank you. I want to invite you to join us outside between services. We're going to do a blessing of the boards. And if you are a donor, I hope that you've signed. If you still need to become a donor, don't you worry. We'll accept donations. You can then sign your name and we'll add you to it so that we can bless these boards and remind ourselves that we have grounded our children in our love. If you want to do that, you can make your donation via check, via Zelle, via PayPal. There's so many ways to give. Just put refresh on the memo. You can even pop it in the offering this morning. And now I'd like to invite those volunteers forward. So if Paul Feick and Mark Willcox could come forward, we just want to surround you in our love. Yes. Come stand here so they can see you in the frame. Come stand up here so they can get you in the video. Oh, no, they got you, they got you. Mark and Paul have put in countless hours. Their wives need to be thanked as well. Many times Heidi was up here holding something up or doing something, and both of them left Christmas. I think they were here on Christmas Eve. I saw them. They were here Monday, Thursday, while many of us were in here worshiping. Paul may or may not have gotten a break to come to service, but I'm pretty sure he had to go right back in and work into the night because they took advantage of the 4 days off we had during spring break to get work done. We didn't close the school at all for this. So we continued on. We couldn't do any work during the day. Everything they did was after 6 p.m. and on weekends and holidays to make it happen. So we don't have enough to give you to really demonstrate our gratitude, but we do have a little thank you card that have been made by our kids at the preschool. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mark. Congregation, we are so in debt. So very grateful. There really aren't enough words to say. But as we bless the boards later today, we want to continue to bless you and thank you for giving up so much of your time and your lives, to your families for giving up their time with you so that you could be here working in the very early mornings and the very late nights. Thank you so much. Oh, yes. Okay, we've got a little words to say here.
Thank you very much, Mark and I. Certainly, when we were doing the work, we knew that the congregation was making lots of contributions, and to us doing the work, we felt that was really important. And the second thing I wanted to mention is that everything that we have spent, you have spent, has been very carefully looked at from the standpoint of making sure that it was the most economical way of doing it, and so on and so forth. And the third thing I'd like to mention is that the person who really deserves the accolades is Pastor Sarah. And Susie and I have been members for about 30 years now, and that's a long time. So when we were first starting, Pastor Sarah was out in the playground just kind of chasing kids around and running around and so on. So back in those days, we just kind of, she had this precious smile, and it's something that you really can't say no to. So when she talks about phase 2 and phase 3 and phase 4, it's hard to say no. And the last thing I'd like to say is that, shortly after this building was put together, there was a movement to build a new child care center. And that was going to cost several $1 million. That was in those days. So right now here for $32,000, I think she's saved us a couple $1 million. So.
Saved us a couple $1 million. We would not have been able to do this without the two of you, and I get choked up thinking about it because you gave so much of yourself. You caught that vision, you ran with it, you were creative. We had a challenge. They thought of 6 different ways to do it and narrowed in on the best 2 and gave us the option of what we could do for the most inexpensive price. And they did everything with such incredible care and technique and talent and so much love. Thank you. Please, please, please come during the time between. We'll bless our boards. We want you to see the work that they've done. I want you to look at everything and just see that they put so much of themselves into every little bit, every crevice in that preschool. And it is paying off in new attendees, which is exactly what we need right now. Thank you. So finally, thank you all for being here and participating in the life and community of this church. I hope you will feel joy this morning. I hope that you will find liberation. And I hope that you'll find connection with the Spirit and with one another as we animate our faith. Welcome to IUCC.